L'Entrepreneur Academy Live 2021 is going to be the biggest and best one yet. Saturday, November 13th in Novi, Michigan. This year's speakers are a who's who of the industry. Greg Woodstock, Corey Ballard, Keith Kalfas, Mark Parker, Caleb and Brittany Almond, Haver Pete, Brian and Liz Fullerton, and Jeff Joyner. Do whatever you have to do to make it. The L'Entrepreneur Academy Live 2021. Tickets will go fast. Get yours today at l'entrepreneuracademy.com.
You're now listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Straightforward, no-nonsense business advice. Completely unfiltered. Grow your business. Grow your life. Now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. It's your host, Brian Fullerton here, hanging with you guys. Good morning. Well, today we're going to do another Feature Friday and a little Friday takeover here with the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Today we're going to be joined in just a quick minute here with a special guest, Naylor Taliaferro, to do a Friday takeover where we're going to share the podcast platform with another content creator, another podcaster out there in the green industry space. Well, if you guys are new to the show, we're all about Lawns Lessons Life. We're here to help you guys grow a more successful lawn and landscape business so you guys can go out there and crush it. We do that with guest interviews, solo episodes, business mindset. Sometimes I get the beautiful wifey for lifey, Elizabeth Fullerton, on the show. We just kind of ad-lib, hang out, give you guys some real-life practical updates as well. Well, guys, we run a lawn and landscape company up here in Novi and Wixom, Michigan, which is just about 40 minutes west of Detroit over here in the burbs. This is our 16th season in business. We've learned a couple things along the way, and we've also made a colossal amount of failures along the way as well. Well, on Feature Friday, we're going to have some of these different guys that have podcasts of their own and podcasts. I mean, they have great shows, great audiences, great followings. Well, they're going to be chiming in for the next couple of weeks on Friday and sharing some of their, not just successes, but some of their failures as well. I thought we would lighten it up, have some fun. Everybody's always talking about winning and the Instagram highlight reel. I thought we'd share some practical fun stories about maybe some things that didn't go as well. Guys, I actually have not previewed this episode yet, which is always a risk as a podcaster, but I have total faith, trust, and confidence in Naylor that he's going to host a great show today. So I'm excited about listening in with you guys and hearing what Naylor's got to say. All right, so guys, if you haven't followed Naylor on YouTube under LCR Media and Lawn Care Rookie, you guys need to go check him out on YouTube. If you haven't checked out his podcast, he's got a couple days a week where he drops episodes as well on the LCR Media podcast, so we're really excited about that. Our podcast episode drops Monday, Wednesday, Friday. He's over there dropping episodes on Tuesday, Thursday. We're trying to give you something every day to listen to outside of our friend Paul with the Green Industry Podcast as well. All right, guys, well, let's do this really quick. We're going to kick it over to Marty, Mr. Producer, who is our producer. He's the one that quarterbacks the show, and he's going to bring you all the latest and greatest, the highlights and everything that's going on in our ecosystem. We're really, really excited about. So let's hear a little bit more from today's show sponsors, and then we're going to kick it over to Naylor Taliaferro.
Oh, God. I'm going to have to shovel. I don't even have a snow blower. Nobody to plow me. Oh, my God, and the neighbors suck. They don't help. Oh, my God, what am I going to do?
Do you want to keep the cash flowing this winter? Head over to l'entrepreneuracademy.com and check out all of Brian Fullerton's new courses and powerful resources to get you cashing in on that white gold through plowing snow. The snow plowing training course is easy to understand, and you'll learn what it takes to do the job effectively and how to bid, price, and estimate snow plowing for both residential and commercial properties. L'entrepreneuracademy.com has 3 new resources to take the hassle and guesswork out of securing your snow removal jobs. Plus, there's eye-catching marketing materials that can help you secure new clients quickly. Ready to crush the snow game this year? Visit l'entrepreneuracademy.com or use the link in the podcast description.
This is LCR Naylor Taliaferro from the LCR Media podcast, but today I am taking over the Unfiltered podcast. So today I'm taking over Brian's podcast just to kind of introduce myself a little bit, tell you a little bit about my podcast, and also to share some personal stories with Brian Fullerton and myself. just to kind of get to know him, give you a different perspective, you guys, a little bit of Brian, like Brian Fullerton behind the scenes, like Brian Fullerton exposed or something, No, I don't have anything too juicy like that, but I definitely wanted to, take a little bit of time here and, get on the show and talk to you guys. And those of you that don't know me or any of my backstory, I have a YouTube channel at Lawn Care Rookie or LCR for the past, what's it been, like 7 years now, maybe? I think 2014. So it was 2021. That's 7 years ago. Been making YouTube videos, kind of in the infancy of this community. Before, when Brian was just a wee babe over here, he was probably watching some of our videos, trying to go through the grind himself, starting his business and everything. He probably already had it started at that point, but it was in the beginning stages for him as well. And he was kind of following along. And a lot of us started making content, and then he started making content as well. And his YouTube channel just blew up, as all of you know. I'm sure, as well as doing the podcasting and so many other media's platforms that he's been doing, live conferences, so many great things he's been doing for the community to help us grow together and get better at our businesses, as well as just personal networking and just growing from a relationship standpoint as well. So it's been an honor and a treat to really watch Brian kind of grow and blossom through the community and kind of continue to reach, new great things for himself and for the industry and for his family now, right? Fullerton Party of 3 now. So congratulations to Brian and Liz for their newborn baby. But so just, a quick backstory again about myself. So in addition to the YouTube, I started doing a lot of things with the community. We've started doing some community events, some live events. The GIE Plus Expo became a big deal kind of early on, back in, I think in 2014 really, but 2015 was when I went and so many other folks at the time went. There's, again, I say so many, but it was probably only like, 75, maybe even less people. We all got together at a local restaurant down the road from the GIE Plus Expo, which for those of you who don't know is like the largest trade show in the green industry. There's a huge demo area outside for you to demo anything from mowers to excavators and, aerators, trimmers, blowers, chainsaws, all kinds of stuff, anything and everything, you name it's out there for you to play around with, digging in the dirt or riding around, obstacles, with different mowers to see what feels good for you and so on. You're not really cutting any grass out there, but you're really just trying to get a feel for how the machine works and if that's something that you are looking at for your business or just to play around and have fun. Sometimes people don't always get to play around with certain equipment or dig in the dirt, unless it's like an actual customer project or whatever. So a lot of fun times there, as well as inside. There's a huge area inside, a huge showroom for you to look at all the stuff, like a lot of new products that have just gotten released or will be released that you can check out. Sometimes you can demo that stuff outside too, but you can at least take a look at it inside and talk to, without having to, like people hopping on it and riding it. You can just look at the actual displays inside and talk about it with the folks from those companies, whether it be the engineers, the designers, sales team, marketing. A lot of times the vice presidents and CEOs are there and you can talk to them, get to meet them. So that's pretty cool. So there's just a lot of cool stuff there. So we started doing that early on as a community to go there. And I'm saying all this for two reasons. One, to give you a little more of my backstory, but two, that's the first place that I ever met Brian in person was at the GIE. So we all started going there, and just it kind of grew quickly because of social media. The more people such as Brian and everyone else that followed in his footsteps started creating their own content in some form or another, whether they became big on Instagram, they focused on that, or they focused on YouTube or everything. Podcasting early on wasn't as big of a thing for our industry and our community anyway at that time. So it was all about YouTube and Instagram. There was other things like Snapchat was coming up, and Periscope was the first live streaming app that we were doing a bunch of that back then. And then Facebook Live took that over and a lot of different things there. So we all just kind of really started expanding so that we can connect with each other. And I really started to get involved in building different community events at the GIE, create a Facebook group, Road to the GIE on Facebook. That's still there to this day. It's been growing. We've got over 2,000 GIE fanatics there, whether they're going or they want to go or whatever. It's just a great one-stop shop for everyone to kind of get all the information that they need and want to know about the GIE, what different events are going on there, information about the GIE itself. If you just want to ask questions, where's a great place to stay? Where's a great place to go to eat or whatever? Like, it's all out there. It's just a huge community driven Facebook group. Even the GIE themselves, their own Facebook profile is a member of the Road to the GIE group, and they follow along, and that's really cool because they answer some questions that, like myself and some other guys, maybe don't know the answer to. That's maybe more technical to the GIE itself, and it's cool because they just go and they chime right in the comments. There's a lot of other brands and folks out there that can make a huge impact in this industry that are also part of it, and they'll share some things and like, hey, here's some cool things we're going to be releasing, at the GIE. We look forward to seeing you at our booth, like stuff like that. So it's just a really cool community-driven Facebook group, like I said. And our meetup, basically, that we started doing at the GIE every Thursday night, we have grown that. I partnered with a lot of folks, and it was something that I didn't want to see kind of die because it was small and in space. There's so many people. The community kept growing so much that I wanted to grow the event as well and find a bigger space, and started working with different brands to help sponsor, to pay for the venue and pay for the food to be catered so that it was free and we didn't have to pay anything. We could just keep going to a free event to network and hang out and meet each other. And also, the brands are there. We can talk with them and kind of get to know them some more. And there's tons of free swag to give out, shirts, hats, and different giveaways, raffle giveaways like equipment and things like that, gift cards and so on. So a lot of cool stuff has been happening over the years with that. We've called it now the GIE Rally. It's something that I've taken a leadership role on, and it's grown to over 600 people back in 2019 before things kind of got postponed for the COVID-19 pandemic that we've been dealing with. But that was definitely it has been a really great event, as well as a new Friday event, a live panel that I've started in 2019 was the first year, and we were going to bring it back last year. But like I said, they got postponed. So 2021, we're hitting it big this year. The GIE is basically one of the main sponsors there, and Kohler hopped on board to also be, basically Kohler's the main sponsor, but it's at the GIE Expo, so they are partners with me to facilitate the event, which is a live panel. And this year we're doing a podcast live panel. So basically everyone that's in the audience is literally the live studio audience. So, we can really interact with everybody that's there. You guys can ask questions, ask the panelists questions. So it'll be myself, Paul Jameson from the Green Industry podcast, as well as Caleb Allman from the Kid Contractor podcast. So three of us will be the co-hosts up there on stage with our panelist guests, which will be Alan Hain, the Lawn Care Nut. We've got Jason Creel, Lawn Care Life on YouTube. We've got Corey Ballard with Perfect Cut and Ballard Innovations. And then we got the Spencers, Sean and Savannah Spencer from Spencer's Lawn Care, all over YouTube and social media. So we've got some OGs there that have been in the industry, as well as YouTube community from the very early stages, from the infancy. I remember, watching the Lawn Care Nut and Jason and Spencer's, and watching these guys since before I started making my YouTube channel back 7 years ago. So I wanted to get those OGs out there, so we can really ask some questions, get the live studio audience to ask some questions, and we'll be recording it all on the podcast. So those of you that couldn't be there live will be able to hear the recording of the podcast when we release them on our respective podcasts later on, that week, that month, or whenever it is, that it comes out with our regularly scheduled content. So the GIE has been a big thing that I've been really happy to be involved with, partnering with the GIE, making just these community events really exciting, and just growing my social media presence and just doing more things. And the podcasting was the next thing for me that I wanted to do years ago, but it was a lot on my plate, and I just didn't want to. I wanted to get off on the right foot. I wanted to put my best foot forward, I should say. And at the time, Paul with the Green Industry podcast was just kind of starting the idea and kind of doing all the research and trying to find the right way to put his best foot forward. And, he came from a radio broadcasting background. He had his own radio show and everything. So he definitely was someone to lean on for advice for the podcast. And he was still trying to get it all ironed out himself. So I'm like, let me just put that on the back burner for now. And maybe we'll readdress that. And at the time I was there, I had gone down to Atlanta to see Paul for my Get to Know the Pro series on YouTube, where I was going around all over the country and going to everyone's shops and hometowns and hanging out with them for the day. It's like a day in the life of all these different lawn and landscapers from various levels, whether they're solo to multiple crews to $1 million, lawn care businesses, whether they were well known on YouTube or not. Just kind of a variety of basically different, like-minded entrepreneurs that in our industry that I knew would has made an impact one way or another, but definitely, has a great story to tell. And I wanted to share that with the community. So I did that for a couple of seasons, a couple of years. I think season 1 had like 20 something episodes. And then the second season, we got up to like 3 or 4 episodes before COVID happened. So hopefully we'll be revisiting season 2. I had a lot of stuff on the back burner there that hopefully I can get that finished up and get that out. But when I was, Paul was one of the episodes, and he had a great story to tell as well. So you can go check that out on the Lawn Care Rookie LCR YouTube channel. You can check out that playlist, Get to Know the Pro, and you can find Paul's episode. But while I was there in Atlanta, I was in his radio studio. So it was pretty, it's not his, it's the radio studio that he worked at. But I was there, and, it was awesome to see him in action, and when we were able to record some live stuff for his upcoming podcast in the studio right there with all the professional equipment and everything. It was really exciting, and that's kind of where the Green Industry Podcast got started. But but I was thinking about me having a podcast to be like a continuation of the Get to Know the Pro, like a complement to it, so that I could maybe put together some of the best ofs, different episodes, some common topics, like relationships, or going from a full-time job to making your lawn care or landscape business full-time, things like that. How to balance work-life balance, how to have good time management balance, things like that. There are many different common topics that different guests brought up. So, I thought about putting a lot of different snippets like that together and making some podcast episodes, as well as interviewing new people on the podcast. So that was kind of my vision back then. But like I said, I put it on the back burner because, Paul was just kind of figuring it out on his own, and no one else was really doing it except for a few folks at the time. And I just kind of really wanted to make it as easy as possible for me, to be honest, because I didn't want to have to add more to my plate. So I put it on the back burner. I was like, all right. But then I just came fast forward to, last year, and it really became more feasible because now we've got these podcasting boards like the Rodecaster Pro and the Zoom PodTrack P8 and different other things out there, different types of technology and equipment out there, different gear that you can utilize to kind of take things on the go and be portable, so you don't have to actually literally be in a studio or in the studio to record your podcast anymore, and it still sounds super professional audio quality like you're listening to right now. So that definitely had advanced over those couple of years, from 2018-ish or whenever that was to now 2021. Really 2020 was when I started my first few episodes in November. It was at the Launchpreneur Academy Live. It was at Brian's second annual conference in Michigan back in November 2020. That's where I recorded some episodes in our hotel room. I stayed with Paul. I borrowed his board, basically put my own memory card in there and recorded some episodes. And then I went home and went ahead and researched my own different types of equipment. Did I want to get a Rodecaster Pro? Was there any other things that were available? Things like that. I always try to have a variety. Brian makes jokes like Naylor's always got to be different, right? He's always got to be different. But that's just me. I always try to challenge everything. I'm not a status quo kind of guy. I'm always keeping it real, trying new things. #Rookie for life. That's my thing. I'm always trying new things, because if you don't try new things, you'll never discover anything new. And you might find the next best thing or the next big thing if you're not trying new things and you just accept the status quo and just kind of become like a worker bee and do your thing. And that's fine. If not everyone is built to be innovators and constantly try new things and all that. There's something different for everyone, clearly. But the point is, I am definitely one of those people that always kind of pushed against just the normal routine. I always wanted to try new things and always felt like there was a better way. Like, if there's a better way, I'm going to find it type deal. Like, that was always my thing. Like, I don't want to reinvent the wheel, but like, if I can make things better and if there's a better way, I'm going to try and find it. You know what I mean? And so sometimes there would be those intuition moments where I just felt like or knew that there was a better way to do something or whatever. And then I would find it, or I would just come up with these new fun, creative, sometimes crazy ideas. And, sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. And it's just all about trying new things. So again, back to the podcasting equipment, that's the exact same thing. I mean, it applies to pretty much everything in my life. So I'm like, well, everyone's getting these Rodecaster Pro boards and they're cool and they work great, but is there anything else out there? Like, maybe there's some new up and coming thing. This has been around for a year or two now. Maybe there's something new that's kind of taken all of the strengths and weaknesses from the Rodecaster Pro and putting it in theirs. And that's exactly what happened. The Zoom is a company that's been around forever for sound, equipment. They've been around for doing, whether it's recording music or whatever and podcasting, but they streamlined to make their own podcast specific board, and that's what I have, the Zoom Pod Track 8. So I'm glad that I did that research and waited a little bit and found the right thing. But so I went ahead and got all my gear and got all ready to go, and then we got Mr. Producer. Mr. Producer, as you guys all know, should all know, right, that he produces Brian's podcast, Kid Contractor with Caleb Allman's podcast, Paul Jameson with the Green Industry podcast, as well as mine, the LCR Media podcast. So Mr. Producer wasn't doing that, back in 2018 when Paul was first starting. He was kind of helping Paul, give him some suggestions, but he wasn't produced. Paul didn't even have a show to begin with to produce, but in the early times, Paul was kind of doing everything himself, all of the recording, obviously, the editing and all that. And he kind of slowly but surely reached out to Mr. Producer, who, he was good friends with at the time. And they kind of worked out a thing like where he could just do all that kind of stuff for Paul. And then they kind of just spiraled it just spiraled. I don't want to say out of control, but it was all uphill or whatever the right term is. I don't know. Blah blah blah. It's been a long day. Anyway, it only went up from there, I guess, is the best way to say it. So for Mr. Producer, because then it just one thing after another, he just started getting introduced to more people, like all of us doing our podcast, and he started producing all our podcasts. So to me, between the equipment and having someone do like the more time consuming, tedious work of the editing and putting, different things, intros, outros, any, commercial breaks for ads and sponsors to help us pay for all this kind of stuff. Cause it's not free, not like YouTube where it's pretty much 100% free other than, getting equipment if you want, but you can just use your phone and record stuff and then upload it on YouTube for free. But as far as podcasting, if you want it to sound good, you have to buy the equipment, but then you have to have a hosting platform to upload everything to, which then puts it all out to all of the podcasting platforms like Spotify, Apple, and so on. You got to pay for that depending on what your plan is every month. And then we have to pay for Mr. Producer to kind of get all this stuff sounding really good and professional and take a lot of time off of our hands. So this way we can just focus on creating the content, hand it over to him, and he takes care of it from there. We give a little bit of direction like, hey, let's do this for this episode or that for that episode. And he just takes it from there and makes it sound amazing 100%. So that's where I was like, I think I can do this now. I think I can do this with the right gear that there's available now. And then Mr. Producer, and now I think I can fit that into my schedule now. So, and again, still sometimes, as Brian, everybody will probably attest, there's some weeks that are easier than others, right? We get ahead of schedule, and then sometimes things happen in life and we get a little bit behind schedule trying to make content. We're like, oh man, we got to make content for the current week or the next week or something. We're trying to squeeze it in there. So I mean, we all have our ups and downs, obviously, with everything. So that's still a thing. But because we have Mr. Producer, he's able to bring it all together for us when we do get that content created. So that's why I was able to make my podcast, and it is all about interviewing people in the Get to Know the Pro format, like taking snippets from, those old series and YouTube videos and putting them on the podcast, as well as recording live interviews with folks. And when I'm on location, for a different event or whatever it is, where we're out somewhere, we're at, spending the day in a life with someone, which has happened, off and on over the last year or so, different road trips that I've been on with Paul and his podcast and all that. And we record new episodes. as well as, over the phone, calling up some folks that's logistically more challenging to get to and calling them up and having a good talk. And I focus on my podcast with different topics. So instead of just interviewing a bunch of people or the same people over and over again, or telling there's different versions of their story, I kind of focus on, while we do that, if someone's never been on my show or my YouTube video, we do that to kind of introduce them to everyone. But we also, I focus on a specific topic, like, hey, let's this month or these couple of weeks or whatever, we're going to focus on employees and staffing and the labor shortage and all that, right? Because that's a huge thing that everyone's dealing with this year, more so than any other year, basically, from what I've been told from senior, veterans of the industry for like the last 20, 30 years. It's never been this crazy with the labor shortage and everything like that. So it's definitely a big deal, in our lives. So why not talk about it and get different perspectives, and maybe, how some people are overcoming that, or whatever the deal is. Maybe they downsize their company because of it or whatever. So, different topics like that, that I will focus on talking about. Different seasons, like, back in mulch season, I interviewed a lot of folks about mulch, and they're talking about their setups and, what works well for them and all this kind of stuff to give people different ideas that are listening for themselves, for their upcoming mulch season or the following mulch season. And, whatever it is, we'll be going in aeration season. We'll be doing the same thing, talking about aerating. And so, as well as I will have, what I call IBG episodes in between guests, where I kind of just talk about different topics, either, the same topics that we're talking about and my personal perspective and experience on it, what I'm either currently going through or what I did go through, and so on. Maybe some future plans for that, as well as sometimes setting up the upcoming episodes and the new topics that we're going to be talking about and things like that. So a lot of good content on there, very similar to Brian and everybody else, but I try to put my own little spin on it there. So definitely worth checking out for sure, a little self-promotion there. But, anyway, back to, I just wanted to give you guys that don't know who I am, never heard of me before, wanted to give you as much of a backstory as possible. I mean, my whole, how I got into lawn care and all that, I'll save that for, you guys can check that out. That is, on my podcast as well as on my YouTube channel. I have an episode that came out not too long ago that basically it's titled My Story, How I Got Into Lawn Care, and it's from a YouTube video from a long time ago that's on my channel. When you first go on, it's on the homepage, and that's the video that plays. But I took the audio from that and kind of set that up and talked a little bit about where I'm at now and everything, and then let you listen to that, basically that video on the podcast, so that you don't have to actually watch the video, because I'm just in the truck talking, for like 30 minutes or something. So now you can listen to it while you're mowing lawns or whatever you're doing, driving from place to place. So that will basically get you all caught up to speed as to when, where, and why I started lawn care many, many, many years ago, 8 years or so ago. So I won't go into all that on this, because this is just a takeover here. I just wanted to kind of take over the show for a little bit and just kind of sprinkle it up and introduce myself and like I said, tell you a little bit about my experiences with Brian's Lawn Maintenance. So like I said, I met him first at the GIE Plus Expo, but I in person. But I saw him on YouTube when he, had a few hundred subscribers here and there, and he was posting the same great content that he does now. But obviously, it takes a little bit of time to, get noticed, make a name for yourself. And he was doing review videos, and I remember one of the first videos I saw, he was promoting. It was like a video that he was promoting different other lawn care, like other YouTubers, other YouTube channels to watch or something. I forgot exactly what it was titled, but it was like, YouTube channels to watch or something like, something along those lines. Basically, he was talking about some key channels that he, enjoyed watching and that he wanted to share with his audience and refer those channels to his followers. Like, hey, you should check these channels out if you haven't already. They're talking about this or talking about that. They're really good, and so on and so forth. And I was one of the people on there. He recommended me, and I was like, wow, that's cool. Like this. And at the time, I didn't even know who Brian was. I'm like, this guy's getting after it. Brian's Lawn Maintenance. He's going for it. That's cool. Like he looks like he's someone to watch for sure. And then, by the time I met him at the GIE Plus Expo, probably that same year or the following year, he had thousands and thousands of subscribers at the time. So he was starting to make a good name for himself, and kind of everyone knew who he was. And, I met him there, and he was such a nice, humble, gracious guy, very, very giving personality. Like, he's got a big heart, and like back then and all the way to now, like he's the exact same person. And he's always been such a nice guy, such a, like everyone's friend, like, your friend next door, like that's Brian. Like he's just a really cool guy. And when you need to talk, yeah, why not? Yeah. Hey man, what do you need? What's up? Like you need help with something? Yeah, sure. What's up, man? Like he's just one of those guys. And it's amazing to me because as busy as he is now, he's still exactly the same. He still finds time for all these things. I mean, I know things get crazy and, there are probably things that he has to pick and choose and manage his time differently and all that. But at the end of the day, he's still the exact same Brian, no matter how big and busy and large his life has gotten to, with over, like 150,000 subscribers or something he's got, or close to. I didn't check before I went on here, unfortunately, but he's got a lot going on in the podcast, and he just had a baby, and he's getting a house built, and he has his lawn care business, obviously, that keeps growing. So he just got a lot going on. But I just remember way back then, he was introducing himself to me, and I was like, yeah, I've seen your videos, man. That's awesome. And, he was making some videos with me at the GIE rally that I mentioned earlier in the episode. We were, sitting there talking about the GIE and talking about the rally and just different things like that. And I remember, he had just started getting involved with some affiliate things, some ambassador things with different brands. Echo was one of the first brands to do that. So we were kind of in the first wave of the UAG program that Echo had. Echo means business, which was basically brand ambassadors. And there was different things that we were doing at the GIE that year, where they were recording, some content, live Facebook content, things like that. And they were kind of pairing some of us together. And I remember Brian and myself were paired together at one point. So we had to meet, outside at the Echo booth, and we recorded some fun live stuff, some content there for Echo, and we got to know each other even more. And he gave me a gift because at the time I had just gotten an enclosed trailer. And also at the time, he and I both had similar setups where it seemed like we were kind of on the same path. Like we both had old F1, like older, they weren't brand new like now, older F-150s. And, his was red, mine was white, and he had an open trailer. I don't even remember what his trailer was before his enclosed trailer, but I'm guessing he had an open trailer just like I did. I only really kind of started watching the videos after, or right around the time. I remember he made a big video about getting his red enclosed trailer. I had gotten a white enclosed trailer either right before that or right after. So we were kind of following suit with all that. So that was kind of another thing that we talked about and had in common. And I had just gotten that enclosed trailer, like I said, and I was having a hard time backing up to it in storage, and I made a video about it, asking for tips and all that kind of stuff. And he had given me a backup camera for me to put on my hitch. It's just like a portable one that it's like magnetic. It just sticks onto anything. So you can take it to anywhere, any truck, any trailer, whatever. And I think it was called the Eyeball or something, the I, and then ball, BALL. So, and that's, it's portable, so you can plug it in anywhere. Like I said, you plug in the little screen into your power source, what they used to call cigarette lighters back in the day, in your truck, and then you turn that on, and you can see the hitch, ball and everything, and you can line up perfectly every time to back up to that. So that was huge. That I used that all the time. It was very helpful. Eventually, I got a newer truck that had a backup camera, on the tailgate. But at the time, that the '99 F-150 that I had that wasn't even a thing back then, I guess. So, but I was very grateful, that he one, I guess, saw that video, and two, he took it upon himself to gift me with something like that. So it was really generous, and I really was appreciative. And I made a video about that as well after the GIE, and the different connections and new folks that I met, and kind of like how that happens at the GIE, and what a great time it is to go there, and kind of promoting the GIE as well in that video. But it just talks about how you can meet people kind of online and talk, off air or on whatever, but you can comment with each other, DM each other, but until you meet each other in person, it's a totally different experience. So we definitely, it's definitely a great time to do that, to go there for sure. It's on October in Louisville, Kentucky every year. I'm sure Brian will tell you all about that, if he hasn't already, on his show and in his podcast notes. But that was the first time and first place that I met Brian. And since then, we've gotten together for so many different live events, like for brand ambassador type things with other brands, whether it be, like I said, Echo or, other brands out there, different content that we've created together for different partnerships. And I've gone up to Michigan and did a get to know the pro kind of spin-off for the GIE plus Expo for the GIE to promote the GIE. I made a couple of videos for them, and one of them was with Brian because he had gone to the GIE for the first time the previous year that I went up there, which was the year that I met him. And then in that year's time, his channel grew even more, like doubled and tripled in size. So he's becoming really a well-known creator, social influencer, as I would say, social media influencer. I know not everyone likes that term, but it is what it is. You're social media marketing influencer as well as a content creator, and he was becoming more known. And we were talking about that whole dynamic of what it was like to go to the GIE for the first time, and then what it's going to be like now with everyone kind of knowing who he is, or a lot more people knowing who he is, and all that kind of stuff. And it was a really good video. So again, that's also on my channel at Lawn Care Rookie LCR. You can look that up. There's a playlist for that too, for the Get to Know the GIE Pro plus Expo. So that his video's there as well as another video. So we've just gotten together and gotten to know each other over the years. So many different things. And like I said, he's a great guy, a funny guy for sure. He's got nothing but jokes, he's quite the jokester, but it keeps it fun for sure. As you guys that listen to this podcast know. But yeah, so there's, I unfortunately don't have, I was really trying to think before I took over this episode, if there was any crazy stories that I recall, anything, any like Brian Fullerton exposed type things. And I really couldn't find anything because I couldn't think in my Rolodex of memories, there was just nothing there because he's we all have our funny little quirks and things that happen or whatever, at different events or whatnot, but nothing crazy, nothing I could even think of, because he's just a genuine nice guy that's just crushing it, in this community and in his life, and setting goals and achieving them, and just really being an inspiration for this community. So I mean that's really all I have to say on that. I mean he's just a good guy, a motivator, an inspirational speaker, really is what he's become, and just a great content creator and an influencer. Brian, yes, you are an influencer. That's just what happens, man. When you influence someone to make decisions, in their business or life, you influence people to listen or watch your content, you're an influencer. It just is what it is. It's just one of many hats, one of many titles that we have as content creators, which is kind of the general theme, the general umbrella of us, of what we're doing. We're creating content. And I have a great time. I know he has a great time. And we've gotten together, like I said, so many other times. Oh, I went up there for a snow video. I had a snow series sponsored by Toro. You check that out also on my playlist. So there's just been a lot of different collaborations that I've done with Brian, and he's been very gracious and very just been a great guy, and just allowing the time and finding the time to for not just me but for everyone. So anyway. Enough about how great Brian is, but he really is. He's a good guy for sure. He's a friend of the show, friend of the family, friend of the community, and I just can't say enough about Brian Fullerton. And you have a great podcast to listen to here at Fullerton Unfiltered, and I had a good time taking over this episode. Hopefully you guys enjoy listening, and if you want to hear more about me ramble on about all kinds of stuff, as well as my guests and some great topics we talk about, please head on over to the LCR Media podcast on every major podcasting platform, and I will see you guys there. This is the Lawn Care Rookie signing off.
Hey everybody, it is Caleb with Almond Landscape. Brittany and I are going to be speaking at Launchpreneur Live event here in Novi, Michigan on November 13th. Our speakers that are with us, and I humble myself with these kind of speakers, Paver Pete, Brian Fullerton, of course, Jeff Joyner, Greg Whitstock, Corey Ballard, and the one and only Keith Kalfas, of course. Fantastic value for the ticket price. for that kind of knowledge, experience, it's nothing but the epitome of value. Plus, as myself, as a guy that likes to eat, they feed you pretty darn well at this thing too. So we really look forward to seeing you at Entrepreneur Academy. Live event, it's going to be fantastic. Again, November 13th, Novi, Michigan. We will see you folks there.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast with Brian Fullerton. We hope you enjoyed this production. If so, please consider leaving us a 5-star review for the show. While the techniques and ideas presented here are designed to help you grow a more successful and profitable business, no one can guarantee these results for you. We want to emphasize that entrepreneurship is not easy, and the ideas presented here are just the opinions of Brian Fullerton and his respective guests. No one can guarantee success for you. That being said, we hope the ideas presented here help you and motivate you to go on out there and crush it with your own business.
Fullerton Unfiltered Podcast.
Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.
This has been a Brian Fullerton and Mr. Producer production.